Good evening. On behalf of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada, I welcome all of you to our very special webinar session with Stephanie Yamniuk. And we are going to introduce shortly. Before I do so, let me give you a very brief background of our webinar today. We have requested Stephanie to come in and share the experiences that she has gained over the years of her work in the field of food security. And one of the reasons in our current project of ICASUS, indigenous sovereignty in the north within this climate change, I think this question fits very well. And of course, at Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada, we talk about resilience, and resilience also encompasses food sovereignty. And so we thought that she is perfect fit, and even given her very busy schedule, Stephanie agreed to speak with us. So we are going to start very quickly. And before we formally begin, let me do the treaty recognition. The institute is located on the original lands of Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of Métis Nation. We all are treaty people, and we are all together in the true spirit of truth and reconciliation. The audience, you possibly quite often see us in YouTube and our social media feeds with different ideas and projects. So this is going to be a little different because Stephanie is going to lay out the work of ADRA, ADRA, and is a very interesting group. And if you have some idea, or if you don't, then I think I'll just very quickly say that is the official humanitarian agency of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, serving since 1985. They work with communities in Canada and around the world to end extreme poverty and deliver emergency relief. In more than 100 countries, they provide water, sanitation, health, food, education, and income opportunities so that all may live as God intended. What a beautiful, beautiful mission! Such a profound mission. And now I think it's time to introduce our speaker today. Stephanie Yamniuk brings over 20 years of experience in international development with leadership roles at UNICEF Canada and the Canadian Red Cross, including work in Ukraine. And I think we will be also curious to know, Stephanie, if you have time to talk about your experience in Ukraine.
Mhm.
She currently serves as regional manager at ADRA Canada. ADRA, in short, stands for Adventist Development and Relief Agency. Stephanie taught for 8 years in the Faculty of Education and Family Social Sciences and has published research and a book chapter on human rights and education. Her work focuses on human rights education, community development, and refugee family dynamics, and strengthening relationships between families and schools. She has partnered with indigenous communities as a youth support worker with Anishinaabe, Pimaziwin, Child and Family Services, and collaborated with Fisher River Cree Nation on a hydroponic farm project. Though her work and Through her work and partnership, she remains committed to justice, education, and community well-being. So, welcome, Stephanie, to the show. Should I call it show? I don't know. It is not a show per se, but just sharing, ideas and knowledge,
Thank you.
and also today we are joined by David Gerald Newman, our founder director and my mentor. Thank you, David, for joining all the way from Victoria. So we three are located in three different locations, just so that you know, Stephanie. And we have our graduate student assistant, Sadman Sakib, also in the background.
Wonderful.
So without further ado, I will invite Stephanie to kindly go through her part of the presentation, and later on, once she finishes after 20-25 minutes, we will join with a brief question and answer session. Stephanie, floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Calzer. Thank you so much, David. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My life has taken a few journeys, from international development to working on my doctorate at the university and not being able to finish because I had a brain tumor. And now here I am working with ADRA Canada, still doing my research, still meeting with my people. It's a pleasure to be in the Rotary Club with David Newman and his lovely wife. It's been quite a journey. So today I'm here to share with you a few things that I've learned along the way, working with humanitarian organizations. Um, a lot of times they talk about, we need to set up the structures, we need to do a needs assessment, but all of this is only because of people. I love people. I like diverse people. I like traveling. I like meeting new people with new ideas. And so I think that's why working with ADRA and with Rotary has been such a pleasure because we get to meet people with different experiences and our paths cross in magical ways. So I'm going to share with you tonight a little bit about ADRA Canada and our work. Um, Much like the research center that both of you are with, we do work in conflict zones. We do work in conflict and we believe in the resilience of people because we've seen it over and over again, internationally as well as locally. So I'm going to share my screen at this time. Okay. You can still see me in the corner, perhaps? Okay, good. So ADRA's mission is very simply justice, compassion, and love. So we understand that in the world there will be conflict, there will be a lot of injustice, but we need to be partnering with each other to be able to support the people that are going through these tough times. So let me put my thing in presentation mode. There we go. This summer, we worked with the Southern Chiefs organization during the Manitoba wildfires. So this is just a picture of some of the people that I worked with, as well as one of the school principals, Dr. Mighty. We believe that we need to get kids learning about justice, compassion, and love from a very young age so that it just becomes normal that they're reaching out to help people and to connect with people and to partner. So these are some of our partners at Southern Chiefs Organization. So you may be asking, what is ADRA? Who is ADRA? And are we even making a difference in the world? If you haven't heard about us or do you know about us, now you will. We do have a lot of partners. We partner with Rotary very closely in the world. The leaders in my Rotary Club of Winnipeg, David and Nancy, they both worked with ADRA when they were in Ghana and working with a Rotary Club project. So we have a lot of partners in the field. So as you mentioned, CRRIC, we were founded in 1985. We're in over 100 countries around the world. One of the things that is very important to ADRA is that we deliver aid regardless of a recipient's ethnic, political, or religious background, because we are people too, right? So we need to be connecting with everyone. So that's very important to ADRA's mission. We have strategic focus looking at extreme poverty and conflict. From 2023 to 2026, we've worked in many countries, including Ukraine, Yemen, Sudan, Bolivia, Cambodia, Kenya, Philippines, and Uganda. We partner not only with Global Affairs Canada, with local organizations as well, because that's how you get things done. ADRA, like many organizations, doesn't go into a country or a city and say, okay, here's the solution to your problem. We say, what is the problem? What are your solutions you're working on? What are your resources? How can we help support you in your work to work in sovereignty? So that's something that I've really appreciated and respected about working with ADRA Canada. We work in many different sectors. You can see some of them there: water sanitation, health and education, livelihoods. Gender equality is a very important part of what ADRA does in the world, looking at even intimate partner violence. We often will work with the men in the country as well as the women, because education is the way to go to be able to make sure that families are living safely and in harmony. So that's another part of the work that we do. I wanted to share a couple of stories tonight about some of the conflict areas that ADRA's working that I think connect with the work that you're doing in your research. ADRA has points of protection all across South America. I'm going to tell you a little bit about working in Honduras, where we're focusing on migrants in transit. Thousands of people are literally fleeing for their lives because of violence, political instability, and extreme poverty from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Cuba, parts of Africa and Asia. But Honduras has become something of a bottleneck because you have to go through there from so many different areas as you're trying to find some kind of safety. You can see here a map of where ADRA is working, starting all the way at the border of Ecuador and Colombia, going all the way into Panama. We have a protection point, Costa Rica, Honduras, all the way in El Salvador, Guatemala, into Mexico, and into the bordering state of the US. So these protection points, we provide safe spaces for children. We provide recreational activities and psychosocial supports to help kids process some of the traumas that they're finding on the journey. A lot of times they're traveling through the jungle. A lot of danger, not only animal danger, but there's a lot of people with guns and gangs and people that are fighting over the people that are traveling to find safety. So they're in a lot of danger and there's a lot of trauma that happens there. We do work very closely with people to make sure that they get cash voucher assistance. You know, it's much more dignified to let people decide what they need to buy instead of, giving them a coupon to buy food or a coupon for medicine. They might need a place to sleep. They might need shoes, depending on their experiences. We also work very closely with the local economy because we don't want to come in with, different resources and money and take away from the economic livelihood that's already happening in that area. So we really work hard to support local economy. We have hydration and health stations right as people are going through that trek through the Darien Gap in Central America. It's physically brutal. It's hot and there's not a lot of access to clean water. Clean water we're able to provide as well as hygiene kits and basic health screenings. That way we can figure out who needs medical attention right away. We are able to provide that. ADRA is also a part of the Life Honduras Consortium, which is a group of UN agencies and NGOs. Together, they manage temporary shelters and they make sure that people on the move aren't left to sleep on the streets. You can see here one of the key kids trying to get a little bit of support there, catch up on some food, get a little bit warmer. I have a story about one young Venezuelan mother. This is in Colombia. This picture was taken. There was a young Venezuelan mother who appeared here with her two kids. Both of the kids were severely dehydrated, and the youngest one had a stomach infection because of drinking some of the river water. Because when you're a kid, you're just thirsty. You're not thinking about is it safe or not. So ADRA at these hydration stations are able to provide immediate rehydration salts, and the child was stabilized because we have medical care at all these different various points that you saw on the map. Also, we were able to give them a cash voucher to be able to provide whatever they needed. And she said they needed a safe room for 2 nights and they needed some food, water, and rest. There's also a group of migrants from Haiti and Cuba that when they reached the border of Honduras, they were exhausted and they lost most of their belongings along the way. They were invisible, so to speak, these migrants, because they had no legal guidance. They didn't even really know if they were on the right track to navigate some of the safe places for them on their journey. So when they entered the ADRA protection point, they were able to receive their hygiene kit. They were able to get Wi-Fi. They were able to connect with other travelers and just see each other as human, Instead of just trying to survive, they were trying to thrive a bit. You can see how many people we work through at our protection point. Often people feel like they have a little more connection with human connection and they can, connect with others before they go forward on their journey. These are some of the kids trying to help out and do their part. A child isn't just a child when they're in these very dangerous situations. They have to really step up and be a part of the team, and they do all the time. These are some of the places we've been able to provide tents and shelter and some food and some water here in Honduras. So we see the resilience of the people every day as they're going through these experiences. Now, in Canada, we have really worked very hard to start to build a national program because we know that in the world, there's lots of very tough things that are happening, but there's a lot of tough things happening for people in Canada. As you mentioned, I've worked with Child and Family Services. I've worked with Red Cross, with some refugees. I've worked in a lot of places, and we know that, Canada is great in many ways, but not perfect. And a lot of people are slipping through the cracks. So we want to make sure that we're able to help people nationally with our new national program. So as you can see, we've been able to help, over 800,000 people in the last year, over 130 projects, with 91 of those projects being in Canada. And I think actually it's closer to 120 projects in Canada. We're continuing to move forward with empowering not only churches, but also community groups with training and resources they need to be able to help. Now, we work in 5 different areas, ADRA Canada. We work with Indigenous partnerships, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the hydroponic farming project that we're doing here in Manitoba. We provide psychosocial support and training, psychological first aid courses. 65% of our project requests are with food insecurity. You had mentioned that right at the beginning, Causer, and it's true. You would think, in a developed country like Canada, that there wouldn't be so many people suffering from food, but food prices are up. Access to food is low. I have a community center here in Winnipeg in Elmwood, and every day we have people stop by just saying, "Hey, do you have an emergency hamper?" Or, do you have some blankets? Do you have water bottles? Just anything. So we know that it's an issue here in Canada. Migration, which we've touched on, we deal with migrants here in Canada, and emergency preparedness is something that we are really ramping up. In the United States, ADRA works with Adventist Community Services, ACS, and they are contracted by the government to do disaster response in the US. In Canada, we are building up our skills and building up our team and doing some training. So I can share a little bit about that with you. So our first pillar, moving from handouts to greenhouses and community gardens. When there were all the fires in Yellowknife and people were evacuated from the city, when they went back home, even before that, they were not able to grow plants because of the soil. The soil is all from mines and it has arsenic, and you can't grow anything in the soil there. So ADRA talked with the elders in the community and said, how can we help? They said, if we only had community gardens or even a planter box, we could grow at least some fresh vegetables and not have to pay exorbitant prices as they're paying up north. So these are some of the youth that we work with. We have a youth mental health program at one of the schools, and they come often to our community center and help support the people that are receiving food hampers. And here's the picture of one of the community gardens that we're working with here in Canada. Indigenous partnerships is another key area, and I think that's how we first connected. I was sharing with you a little bit about some of our work in Nunavut. So that story will be for another time. But today, I want to share with you a little bit about the hydroponic farming and food sovereignty that we're doing. This is Chief David Crane and the Deputy Chief Hillary Murdoch from Fisher River Cree Nation. And they are our partners, working with the company grocers who are providing a hydroponic farm on their land. So they believe in having food sovereignty. So it goes even beyond food security, but being able to produce their own food and to be able to sell it to their elders and make sure that people have what they need. This is one of their goals. So we have partnered with them to create this hydroponic farm. On the far right is Corey Ellis. He is the CEO of Grocer. The gentleman in the ADRA shirt is David Schwinghammer. He's our national director. And right in the middle, you'll see Chief David Crane and some of the council members that are there from Fisher River. Beautiful people to work with. So they have an opportunity not only to grow fresh vegetables in a 10-week cycle, so they'll have a full crop in only 10 weeks, but over the year, they'll be able to grow between 8,000 to 10,000 pounds of fresh vegetables. They're able to sell those on their land to their own people. They can focus on their own medicines that they also want to make. So some of them are growing sage or sweetgrass or other fresh vegetables that are part of the medicines that they want to share with their community and with their students. The hydroponic farm that's on Fisher River is actually just a hop, skip, and a jump from the high school. So the high school students will also be receiving educational materials about nutrition, about farming, about how to use these plants, and also business skills, because we will be hiring some of the students to work here to be able to sell the fresh vegetables to the people in their community. So it's a very interdisciplinary. It's about food, but it's also about education and about even learning how to sell it and do that kind of work. So we're really, really proud of working with Fisher River on this project. It's just coming into fruition. We're hoping to have our first crop in the next couple months, and then see how it goes from there. So when we have an interdisciplinary approach, working in community, the impact on society, we're able to remove barriers for people to have access to grow their own food, lower prices for healthy food. I've been to Fisher River. I've been to their grocery store and seen some of the prices they have. It's very high because it's hard to access. Potential reduction for diabetes, which is a current issue they've addressed with us. So we're connecting them with an organization called Hope for Diabetes. They work around the world. And so we're going to be meeting with them just actually this week to talk about a partnership. And then jobs will be created working with this hydroponic farm. Third pillar, we work with psychosocial supports. So we do PFA training, the psychological first aid. We talk about the cycle of care. You've got to care about yourself. You've got to care for yourself so you have something to give. Listen, engage, connect, help, and live. Migrant supports. Some of the things that across Canada that ADRA constituents are doing are creating these bags of love for children, for refugees, food banks, as well as children that are in the CFS system that, are moving around all the time. And I've been a foster parent. I drive them around and they pick up the garbage bags of their clothes and their belongings from many different places. So these bags of love give them a bit of dignity, and they're colorful, and they have all kinds of accessories that kids and families might need. Well, this is just one project that we're working with migrants. There's many more. And then our emergency response training. This is something that we're really growing here in Canada. We spent a week in Oshawa with 30 people from across Canada, as well as a team, an international team, Australia, US, UK. They came to train us and work with us to develop this emergency response team. We know that disasters are happening every day. They're happening much more frequently. Many churches are a haven for people that are having challenging times. And so we're trying to train 500 churches across Canada. So we worked with emergency response, needs assessment. How do you do a needs assessment properly? Food and shelter coordination, spiritual care, and then how do you build communities in partnership? During the Manitoba wildfires, we had a group of people in North Battleford, and they called me and they said, the mayor called us and they said that we need to help. What should we do? And I said, well, what are their needs? You've got to ask them what they need first. So they met with the people and they said, we need to do laundry. We have no place to do laundry. We're living in camps outside in tents. So I said, why don't you contact the laundromat in your town and see if they can give them free laundry or at least a discount. And those laundromats both stepped up. They gave them the detergent as well as let them wash their clothes so many times a week. They also connected with a pizza shop, and they had a pizza night for all of the evacuees. It's just you just have to figure out what the needs are and find out where the resources are and how do you make a connection doing that in community. So this is part of our international team. Yeah, the emergency response cycle. Once you know what it is, you know how to be able to manage it and how to support people by serving, partnering, and then offering supports. We have some great partnerships locally. We're working with, stores like Giant Tiger. We have community resource centers, of course, the Rotary Club. We have schools and we have churches. We have a wide network of support. I think it's just important to recognize when you are dealing with people in conflict and you're looking at resilience, just remember you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to know people and connect with them and find the resources that you need. This is the president of MCIC, Manitoba Council for International Cooperation, up in the right corner. And then some of the people that I met at International Development Day. Rotary Club has done great work. So I was sharing my Rotary Club in a couple of publications. This man right in the middle there, he looks like Santa Claus. This is Steve Young. He's the international president for Teen Challenge around the world. He's an amazing person. So this is our conference president, Dr. Charles Aguilar. And this is a meeting just to talk about what do we need? How can we connect? What do we need to do? I had promised that I was going to share with you a little bit about Ukraine and a little bit of my work in Ukraine. So let me see if I can get that link right now. Let's see. I had the opportunity to go to Ukraine in 2007. I was working with UNICEF Canada at the time. We took the president of ICID, the International Center for Infectious Disease, with us, as well as some of his staff. And we traveled along eastern Ukraine to about 8 different cities, Kherson and Zaporizhia, Kiev, Kharkiv, a whole bunch of different places. And we met with the Deputy Minister of Health and talked to her and said, we understand that there is a real problem with kids who are HIV positive. She said, no problem. And we said, well, we've done some research and we've talked with UNICEF Ukraine. And she said, yes, there is a problem, but we just don't know what to do about it. So we said, let's partner. Let's work together. We've worked with HIV/AIDS in many, many countries. We have experts at University of Manitoba who worked with HIV/AIDS in many countries. Okay, let me try and share here, and I'll share with you a short video in Ukraine what ADRA is doing. Oh, I think I had to optimize sound. Share sound.
Yeah, exactly. Just a checkbox. Thank you.
Okay.
At first, it felt like a bad dream. We froze, waiting to wake up at any moment. The first year passed in quiet denial. This won't last long. This must be some mistake. We counted the days, not yet knowing we would begin to count the years. ADRA became the force that offered a shoulder when our own arms began to fall. tons of food, clean water, evacuation convoys. It was more than just aid. It was a sign you are not alone in this emptiness. And then the darkness came. Blackouts became a moment of truth. The war entered every home through cold radiators and switched off lights. In this systemic darkness, we saw one another more clearly. While cities sank into silence, our donors from around the world were lighting the way. Generators, warm clothing, financial assistance, psychological support. 4 years. This is already longer than the active phase of the Second World War lasted for many countries. It is an exhausting marathon where the finish line is still hidden beyond the horizon. But while the war continues, so does our resistance and our support. We are not merely surviving. We stand together.
So, I mean, what really shocked me when I was watching this and reading about this, that this war has lasted longer than the active phase of the Second World War, 4 years. Some of the things that we're trying to do is especially the psychosocial supports. That's an area that ADRA has a lot of history of being able to help, as well as just the basics of providing food and water. When the war first broke out, ADRA landed in Poland, like day one. And we're trying to figure out, how can we get into Ukraine? How can we help people? And the government realized that we had churches all over Poland, right on the border. And so we mobilized all of those churches as shelters for people. As soon as they were leaving Ukraine, they had a safe place to go. We had the Catholic Church come to us and they said, you know what, our churches aren't heated. So we can't provide the churches, but how can we help you? And so we partnered with the Catholic churches to be able to provide food and water and shelter to the people from Ukraine. So we're still working in Ukraine. We haven't left the country. We're still, doing our best for them. But those are just a few of the stories of how ADRA is trying to work around the world, and again, partner with good people, with good partners, to make sure that there's an impact of resilience in this world. Thank you for this opportunity to share. I appreciate that, Kaiser.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephanie. It's a clearly message of hope and message of working together and across the divide, what we often call. And this is such a wonderful work. Thanks, Adra. Thanks, Stephanie, for kind of sharing the number of ways humanitarian activities are ongoing despite a lot of challenges. So we are going to informally chat about your programs and the way we see some of the hotspots in the world, and especially in our country, Canada itself. But let me invite David first. David, if you have any comments, observation, go ahead.
Yeah, this has really been such an inspiring, hopeful, positive contribution. Really bringing a depth and a breadth to the concept of sovereignty, which must be understood. And when we talk human security, I think everything you've said and everything that ADRA is doing is really part of the needed kind of human security, which is the only sustainable defense against violent conflict and the kind of aggression between nations. So here's what really I think is very helpful to me, who's spent, fortunately, a fair amount of time in the Arctic, and I really came to appreciate the talk about resilience of the people. I've often come back and said that the people of the Arctic are the most resilient people in human history, simply because they survived before what we call civilization, with a civilization which survived with them nomadically, really providing their own housing, their own clothing, their own food, all harvesting and living in harmony with nature. And of course, what's happened in Canada, shared with 7 other northern Arctic countries, part of the circumpolar council. So on the top of the world, we have a lot of commonality between the indigenous peoples in every one of the countries. But what it really, I see so hopeful in your presentation is because civilization and religion has done so much damage in the North over the years. And I mean, I've experienced the consequences of battles, for example, between the Roman Catholics and the Anglican or other Christian churches, which has left ongoing trauma, confusion, and has done serious multi-generational damage. So when I hear you talking about really a kind of collaboration and cooperation of churches, not just Seventh-day Adventists, but all churches. And of course, I think, when saying that, because the values you espouse, justice, compassion, and love, are universal, and certainly they're foundational to the indigenous values, which have allowed them to be resilient and peoples that have been able to understand the interconnection, interdependency of humans and nature and coexistence with each other. But really, when I just broaden what you have to say, I mean, imagine if every gagwara, every synagogue, every temple, every mosque, every church, every place where people gather and worship and pride themselves in loving thy neighbor and loving the loving energy in the universe, whether you call that God or whatever. Even non-Christians and non-religious people, of course, can identify with what we people of faith may call God, but they certainly appreciate there's something far greater, more powerful, filled with love that makes us feel good when we're in alignment with it. So I just want you to take what I've just said and see to what extent this kind of universal, very strong, attractive, necessary value system can, with collaboration and cooperation, be part of really the kind of broad, deep sovereignty in the Arctic that is far beyond weapons, far beyond defense, far beyond soldiers and Navy and Air Force.
Yeah, well, I have a colleague who's working in Iqaluit in Nunavut right now. He is a medical doctor, as well as a pastor, as well as he's done many different things in his life. So he is living there with his family, and they are working at the food bank. They're building a community up there. They've only been there for about 6 months, 5 months. And already he says he has 2 families that have kind of adopted them to show them how do you live in Nunavut when it's, dark all the time or light all the time, depending on where you're at. They've really fallen in love with the people there. It's a beautiful place, the Aurora Borealis. The kids, I think they're like 1, 2, 5, and 6, like they're really small. They're living their best life out there. And so I'm connecting with them on their work in the Arctic to see what further supports we can give them with ADRA Canada. So there's an elder that's in Ottawa that we have been consulting with and talking with about how can we support the work that's happening in Nunavut and in the Arctic. So more to come on that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Just one sort of follow up on that, because you and I are both Rotarians, and we know the potential of the Rotary movement. We also know that there's a Rotary Club, for example, in Iqaluit, in Nunavut, and I've actually been there. So
Have you?
I'm well aware of the potential. So again, imagine if Rotary expanded throughout hamlets in
Yes.
Nunavut and really then connected to the broad universal depth that Rotary offers, and Rotary International Foundation and global grants and all that kind of stuff. But the kind of human security, the kind of sovereignty which you are working with, food sovereignty and
Yes.
everything you do, that is the way that the population up there can not only survive and flourish, but can demonstrate to the rest of the world with their historic resilience that they can be great teachers for the rest of the world of how we relate to the environment, we relate to each other. So I see the empowerment and the increasing population of the Indigenous peoples of the North with their the values which have endured and are needed in this world can mean this is a partnership which is going to be even richer for the non-Indigenous people than it is for the Indigenous people themselves.
Yeah, yep. The social impact that we have is moving from handouts to hand-ups, right? By empowering women, by empowering people through cooperatives, whether it's working in Bolivia, whether it's working in Yellowknife. It's a real holistic approach. And I think that's, again, something that Rotary believes in, and that your research center, all the videos that I've watched, I've heard the term holistic approach. That's the only way to do it, to be able to break the cycle of poverty, to restore human dignity, and to build resilient societies that are capable of withstanding all of the chaos that's happening right now. We really have to focus on that human dignity and human sovereignty.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you
Over
very
to you,
much.
Kazer. Okay.
Thank you, David. Stephanie, I have kind of two queries, not a question per se. One is within Canada, I do see a lot of potentials of hydroponic farming, because especially in the north, we do see lack of land, and of course, the technology and the way we always see the supply route is difficult, right? I mean, the way we get fresh foods in Winnipeg is different than in Whitehorse or Nunavut. So my question is, have you folks did a lot of research about the potentials of this technology in the north? And if you have done so, what do you think? How to really market the idea so that people understand that there is a potential of this kind of technology there?
It's a very complex and interesting question. So I do know that there are one or two hydroponic farms in the Arctic, in Nunavut, that are working successfully, that would like to grow and that are interested in doing more. But when I talk to the Inuit people and I talk to the elders, they have shared with me the importance of, it's the Hunter and Trapper Organization, the HTO, and their need for meat. And I said, well, what about some vegetables? Like, wouldn't you like to have fresh vegetables? And they said, no. So it's very interesting. And talking with the elders, they said, there's a lot of Southern companies, Southern organizations that are telling us that we need hydroponic farms. And so what I have found is that in the areas that have them, it's because they have decided that they want them and they need them. So it was very interesting talking with these elders
Wow.
and hearing their perspective. The
Yes.
University of Manitoba had a really interesting forum and discussion on the Arctic. A couple months ago, I think David was there. They were talking about people interacting with the defense and the military, interacting with nature and climate change. It was really fascinating. But the woman that was there to talk about the people said kind of the same thing. We need our seal meat. We need tools. We need skidoos that work, and we need equipment to be able to do our hunting, to be able to feed our families. Very, very interesting. So it really depends on who you're talking to and where they're at in the Arctic as to what they need. Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of the people, the Southerners that are living in the Arctic from Department of Defense and some researchers, they want the vegetables. That's what they're used to. They value those fresh vegetables. And so maybe that's who we need to be talking with
Wow.
in terms of more farms.
Unbeknownst to us, it's really little different way of, okay. I mean, I was just thinking that with protein you need vegetable too. But anyways,
Because,
you are.
Kaiser, I just got to put this on the record because the point that is so hugely significant here. We from the South do not know better. They know better than us.
That's
And
right.
they would tell us, well, why don't you focus on the survival of the health of the muskox and the polar bear and all of and the seals and all of
Seals.
the sources where we get. Think about it. We get all the vitamins and minerals and protein, everything that we need from what has caused us to survive in these elements before we had canned food sent up to us, before we did any of that. So I think we got
Yeah.
to really appreciate that. And the moment we start thinking food sovereignty, food sovereignty means what we do in the South to get the nutritious foods. Forget it. We got to learn, and maybe we should learn to eat the foods that they eat that are available, rather than imposing on them the foods that we believe are the right foods for nutrition.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Stephanie, my second question, a kind of global footprint of ADRA, is really very encouraging. I just wanted to know that since ADRA is a faith-based organization, so have you folks encountered any barriers in going into some of the places where there is a kind of natural resistance? I'm not sure if ADRA is working in Palestine, or the area where the conflict is there now, and also the research that we do in Myanmar, Bangladesh. Just wanted to understand what is the dynamics here with regards to the ADRA.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Because we are working in 120 countries, it shows that we have been accepted into all different cultures, all different religious countries, because of our belief that everyone deserves help, no matter age, race, religion, culture, etc. So I had the opportunity to go to Nepal about a year and a half ago to do some emergency response training,
Hmm.
some like situational. They kind of dropped us in the middle of a city, Banapa, and there was a disaster, and we had to figure out how to navigate it, work with the government, and we had scenarios where we were working with the United Nations, and some local people served as actors as part of our situation. It was fantastic. But ADRA does work in the refugee camps that are in Bangladesh, right on the border near Nepal. And it, it hasn't been a problem. because of the history of us working around the world. I do believe that we did have some people work, but we've had to move out because of the safety. I forget at what point, but we did have to move out because of the safety of the people. But it is a good talking point, and a lot of people are worried. Our organizations that we have all around Canada, I find maybe there's even more resistance in Canada than around the world, if you can imagine. People saying, "Oh, if you're a Christian organization, you're not gonna, make me say a prayer before you feed me." No, we're not. We're going to feed you.
Uh,
Regardless if you want to say a prayer or not, we're going to feed you. We're going to give you shelter and give you hope. If you're interested in
Absolutely.
that, we can share that. But
Absolutely. No, the reason I'm kind of going, circle here again,
mhm,
because in the refugee camps in Bangladesh,
mhm,
as you possibly have some idea where we work, 1.6 million of them are, housed. And I do see a lot of value that ADRA offers, not only food security, but also emergency preparation, especially in the refugee camps in Bangladesh. There are often you'll find fire breaks out and fire burns because these are all very
yes.
small structures, especially very highly flammable structures within which
Hmm.
they live in. And I just ran a very very small project funded by MCIC just a
Mm,
month ago. So we wanted to provide fire. I mean, we did provide fire safety training, but this is why maybe we'll touch base with you offline, because I'm very
yeah.
interested to see whether you folks have any programs, because we can pair up and we can arrange the local support. But I think ADRA's activities are very very it fits within this overall thematic areas that we discussed today. Stephanie, we are going to close. It is nearly 1 hour that we are in this very interesting discussion and very encouraging discussion, a message of hope, I would say. Do you have any last thoughts for us? I mean, with regards to ADRA, and of course, personally, if you want to share with us.
Yeah, I feel so happy to connect with you both to be able to share what ADRA's doing, and we can't do it on our own. That's kind of something that ADRA's good at is making partnerships. We have to recognize what are we good at, what are our strengths and resources, and where do we need to lean on our friends to be able to help the people. It's always about how do we help the people that are in need, the most vulnerable people. Even with the wildfires, I dealt with several northern um, cities, First Nations that had to be evacuated because of the Manitoba wildfires. And when I was working with them, that was my first question is ADRA wants to help your most vulnerable. So send me those families. Tell me who those people are so that we gave them cash vouchers again, so that they could buy what they needed the most instead of us telling them what they should buy. I love our partners around the world and in Canada, and I'm just so thankful to reconnect with you and to talk with you both tonight. Thank you for the opportunity.
Just one last thing. I guess what is the numbers of the membership of Seventh Day Adventists on a worldwide basis? Number one, and number two, what do you receive government funding for your programs in the really the secular part of your religious organization?
They do.
Yes. Yeah, we do. If you can imagine, in 2024, there's over 23 million Adventists worldwide. It's a pretty
Wow.
big number. 175 congregations all around the world. So over 23 million. Um, and we do. Canada works very closely with the governments here, but also around the world. We work with United Nations very
Mm,
closely.
mm.
It's interesting though, it's changed in the last 2 years. As you know, we are not getting as much funding from governments as we used to because of things that have been happening in the political world. And so yeah, it's we have to be creative. We have to be creative as we work with our partners.
One
But
thing that
very
I've always thought of is at the United Nations. Do you have a representation, by the way, there? I mean, as like Rotary does. Rotary is what, 31
I
representatives of
don't
the UN.
know. That's a
Yeah.
good question. I
Okay.
don't know.
Because you have organizations like Baha'i. You've got organizations like the Soka Gakkai Institute, which is really a arm of the Zen Buddhist tradition out of Japan, so we have powerful influence, and if there's collaboration at grassroots, but also collaboration internationally, you think of the power of that in terms of human security on an international basis. So I just plant that seed, collaboration at the UN level through all of those religions that have representation. Think of the Roman Catholic Church with their own, So the power of this could be enormous. Thank you very much.
I can tell you that we do have a UN liaison office. I've just Googled it. The General Conference, we do have a UN liaison office with designated representatives, and ADRA is a general consultative status that has worked with the Social Council for many years.
Yeah. So think of a mainstream business professional community leader organization like Rotary, and all of those arms of religion that aren't there to proselytize, but to be of compassionate service to advance justice and love, working together for sovereignty in the Arctic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So think of your that from the different parts of society in each of the 8 countries in the Arctic, which include the United States and Russia, and indigenous people, really putting their hats together at an international level and looking down at that from above the earth and looking down at that community of the circumpolar Arctic, I would say, larger community of communities.
Yeah.
And what could be done working together.
Lots of opportunity.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for this. I would say a very holistic, wrap up of our discussion today. Thank you, Stephanie, from ADRA. The audience, we are so grateful to have heard the works of ADRA globally and locally. And the reason we were very much curious regarding the food security in the north, and we are going to have our first workshop on 31st of March, and I've invited Stephanie to consider coming in and share her thoughts as well. We are going to discuss a whole bunch of things with regards to indigenous-led sovereignty, climate change, and of course the geopolitics of the change, particularly focusing on United States of America. So please tune in, and we are going to invite you in the coming days with regards to number of webinars that we still plan in this project. So with this, I would like to call it a night, and stay well, folks, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Stephanie, thank you once again on behalf of the Institute. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.